Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Aubrey deletes Cowboys need in NFL draft. Brandon Aubrey wasn't simply a breath of fresh air for the Dallas Cowboys in 2023, he was a hyperbaric chamber for what they needed at kicker after years of longing for another dominant one in the post-Dan Bailey era. His ascension to the role is one of the best stories around, and the unit of specialists are now in excellent shape in North Texas. That's fantastic for the Cowboys, who will finally dodge questions on if they would finally give in and use a pick in the NFL draft at kicker to stop the revolving door they'd become accustomed to. The brand new series, High-Low, dives into it, with each edition to follow focusing on a different position group leading up to draft week. Brandon Aubrey. It took a long time and several different players, and sometimes a bit of recycling, Brett Maher, for the Cowboys to finally find the worthy successor to the legendary Dan Bailey, and they were able to strike gold again without using a draft pick to fix the position. Instead, they took a trip to Birmingham to sign Aubrey, also a former lifelong soccer player, away from the XFL's Stallions in a move that ultimately pushed Tristan Vizcaino back onto the streets of free agency. Aubrey was a menace in his rookie season, setting records and putting both his accuracy and powder-keg right foot on display whenever called upon, and earning both a first-team All-Pro honor and Pro Bowl nod in the process. Brian Anger. Speaking of being a menace, Anger falls right into that category as well. Arguably the best punter in the entire NFL, he is the king of the coffin corner kick and routinely helps flip field position for the Cowboys. The former two-time All-Pro and two-time Pro Bowl leg is surgical with his kicks, and though he's only under contract through 2024, at the moment, that could and should change at a moment's notice. Trent Sieg. Not unlike the search for Bailey's successor was the search for someone to replace another legendary Cowboys specialist, namely LP Ladouceur, but there's been far less turnover at long snapper than at place kicker. Sieg re-signed this offseason to remain with the Cowboys after a great 2023 season in which his name wasn't called a single time on a broadcast, and that means he's doing his job. To be frank, specialists aren't typically a group you'd address in the draft anyway, undrafted free agency notwithstanding, but the great news is there's no need for the Cowboys to concern themselves with any of these three positions at all going forward. Aubrey is pure Kerrygold. Justin Fields' future signing with Dallas? Cowboys speculated as Steelers QB suitor. The Dallas Cowboys have headed down a dangerous path. The slippery slope to quarterback purgatory is steeper than those taking quarterback Dak Prescott for granted would like to admit, and there are decreasing reasons to be optimistic about Dallas' situation under center. One may not believe Prescott is gone until he's wearing another uniform, and that's fair. With 11 months until his impending free agency, a lot can change, relationships can be mended, and pen can hit paper. Until then, though, it's worth speculating on who could replace him. The most likely option may lie in the NFL draft, but at this point the 2025 class isn't inspiring. Could Prescott be replaced by a younger veteran instead? As Christopher Klein notes, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Justin Fields could be an option for the Cowboys. Fields, a former first-round pick, flashed potential increasingly often during his Chicago Bears tenure, but the down-to-down consistency proved to be elusive. He'll get a fresh start with a respected organization, but he'll begin his campaign on the bench behind veteran quarterback Russell Wilson. Odds are the Pittsburgh Steelers will decline Justin Fields' $25.7 million contract option for next season, sending the former first-round pick into free agency, Klein wrote. Fields is the obvious successor to Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, at least in theory. But, if Fields ends up riding the pine all season as expected, he could be tempted to find a more suitable home. Fields had the best year of his career in 2023, throwing for 2,562 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. He set career highs in completion percentage, passer rating, and interception rate, but remained below average basically across the board. Simply put, he'd be a seismic shift from Prescott's game. While incredibly physically talented, Perhaps more than Prescott, Fields lacks the post-snap proficiencies of his potential predecessor, and his struggles managing sacks and operating the quick game means a schematic shift would have to be in play. It's clear the league does not put much stock into Fields' 3 seasons as the Bears' QB1, Klein wrote. While his output was never great, the complete lack of faith in such a dynamic athlete is a bit surprising. It could set up Dallas with a chance to find major value in the bargain bin. Of course, this theory means Dallas would be not putting much stock in its own young backup, Trey Lance, who is also free next March. But this idea, if nothing else, choosing Fields as the next quarterback of America's team would give them a unique upside other more steady passers couldn't offer. Dallas Cowboys best bargain player revealed. The Dallas Cowboys have plenty of star power on both sides of the football, but the biggest bargain of all might be All-Pro cornerback Darren Bland. Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon listed the most underpaid player on every roster across the NFL, and names Bland as the Cowboys' most underpaid player on the roster. With all due respect to the underpaid CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, Gagnon writes, neither stood a chance next to a guy who intercepted 9 passes in a first-team All-Pro sophomore season while earning less than $1 million. In a secondary that also featured Stephon Gilmore, Bland was a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers during a record-setting 2023 season. Can Darren Bland build on historic season? Bland was named a first-team All-Pro selection for the first time in his career, just 2 years removed from being chosen by the Cowboys in the 5th round of the 2022 draft. One of the brighter diamonds in the rough the Cowboys have mined through the draft in recent years, Bland now holds the record for most interceptions returned for a touchdown in a single season, with 5. According to Pro Football Focus, Bland held opposing quarterbacks to a meager 50.9 passer rating when targeting him, underscoring his dominance in coverage. Bland produced a career-high 69 tackles, intercepted 9 passes, and broke up 15 more while garnering an elite 90.4 overall grade from PFF. Through his first 2 NFL seasons, Bland has picked off 14 passes, logged 123 total tackles, broken up 22 passes, and has produced 2.5 tackles for loss so far in his career. Entering the 3rd year of his rookie contract, Bland is set to make a base salary of just $985,000 in 2024 while counting $1.06 million against the cap for Dallas in 2024. How much will re-signing CeeDee Lamb cost the Cowboys? On the opposite end of the value spectrum from Bland sits CeeDee Lamb. Emerging as one of the NFL's most prolific wide receivers, and the Cowboys' most dangerous weapon in the passing game, Lamb is coming off a career-high 1,749-yard and 12-touchdown campaign in 2023, setting new career highs in both key categories. Lamb is set to enter his 5th-year option in 2024 while collecting $17.99 million for the upcoming season. However, the Cowboys will likely need to sign the 25-year-old emerging star to an extension in the coming months to lower his cap number and ensure he's wearing a star on the side of his helmet for the foreseeable future. I can't give you numbers right now, Lamb said on teammate Micah Parsons' podcast leading up to the Super Bowl. But I'll tell you this. I want to be one of the top-paid wide receivers, for sure, if not the highest-paid receiver. That's always the goal. If Lamb is intent on being one of the highest-paid receivers, it could cost the Cowboys upwards of $28.63 million against the cap, which is San Francisco 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel's annual cap hit as the 3rd highest-paid receiver in the league. To reset the receiver market, the Cowboys would need to exceed Tyreek Hill's $31.30 cap number in terms of their commitment to Lamb. Chosen by the Cowboys with the number 17 overall pick in the 2020 draft, Lamb has caught 395 passes for 5,145 yards and 32 touchdowns through his first 4 seasons.